Now, the Equality and Human Rights Commission says in overnight that efforts to tackle police violence against women requires urgent improvement.
Well, the findings come in the same week that the UK's most senior police officer, Sir Mark Rowley, said the level of funding needed was equal to that used in the fight against terrorism or organised crime.
Joining us now is former Met Chief Superintendent Parm Sandhu. Parm, good morning. Thank you for joining us as ever. This is a statement overnight from the Home Office about violence against women. And just explain where this has come from. Do you agree? What's your feeling about this announcement?
I do agree with the sentiment behind the report, but let's not forget there have been many reports over the last few years. There have been reports from the police watchdog, which is the HMIC. There's been the Dame Louise Casey report, and then last week the Dame Elish Angiolini report, and then this follows on. There does desperately need to be more funding available for women and girls who are subject to domestic violence and other types of rape, sexual assault. There just isn't enough being done. And even when you look as closely as refugees, there aren't enough refugees. And if you happen to be disabled as well, the amount of refugees or the amount of access that you get diminishes. So there isn't enough funding. There aren't enough safe havens for people. And there's not a holistic approach to looking after the children, the women who are fleeing this type of domestic violence or other types of assaults.
Where would this money go to? What is the answer? I understand, it's impossible almost to completely eradicate violence against women and girls. Unfortunately, it's something that is so prevalent in society. But with this increase in funding, where should that go in order to be used more effectively?
That money needs to go into creating these safe havens. It needs to go into the charities that support women who have taken that very courageous step to leave abusive husbands or partners. We also need to look at the whole approach, because if a woman is being faced with domestic violence, let's, for example, say at home, she is then fleeing. She's got to take her children with her. She may lose her job. She's got to look at the finances. There isn't an all-round approach to how this woman is then looked after, housed, the education for her children, schooling. So it needs to be put into those support agencies. It's all very well for police officers to turn up on the day and deal with that incident there and then. But then what happens to that family? And it's not just women. I mean, men are subject to domestic violence as well. What happens to those people once they've left that home? Where do they go?
I just wanted to say, and I'm not sticking up for the police, of course, this is exacerbated when you hear horrendous stories like, Michael Carrick and also, of course, Wayne Couzens the other day, and that documentary was on. I completely get this, but it's not for the police to create funding. It's for other people, the government or whatever. I've always said, we did years of this on the radio. When you are abused psychologically, it's sometimes not physically, psychologically, to make it feel that that's the best you are and this is your lot in life. To make that escape and get over that threshold is massive, and there needs to be more encouragement for that. I'm not sure the police should be blamed, though. I think more should be done.
That wasn't what my intention was.
No, I've just read overnight the police are failing, and I'm not sticking up for the police, certainly with what you see in the police, but actually society as a whole needs to look at it, doesn't it?
But Jeremy, let's just make a point here. The majority of police officers are good, caring individuals who are there for the right reasons. And then when these reports pick up the Carrick and the Couzens, there are people like that within policing who need to be rooted out. So there is work for police officers to do, but let's remember the majority are there for the right reasons. But the point I was trying to make was that even when police officers deal with that incident there and then, there's a wait for the criminal justice system. There's a backlog in the courts. And if you don't go to court, you don't get your finances sorted, so you don't get maintenance for the children. This is about the whole approach, and this is about charities and other organisations supporting those individuals who have left that home so that they can make a new life, so that they can carry on with where they were, get their children back in school, get themselves housing, and get themselves back in the workplace. So it is about that holistic approach.
Well, thank you so much to Parm Sandhu there for joining us this morning, former Met Chief Superintendent.